Hello there, people of the internet. Today is a controversial one for hunting purposes using the 223/556 cartridge. Many people will tell me that it is severely underpowered and not something that you want to use, and then other people will tell me, hey, it is absolutely adequate to use for small and medium game. Now, I necessarily wouldn't want to use it for large game. I'm not going to take it elk hunting or anything like that. But the deer around here get to be about 150 pounds, and I know for a fact that the 223/556 cartridge has been known to take out things of about equal or heavier weights than even that. So yeah, it is 110% capable for the types of hunting that I do here in Florida. A lot of times whenever I go pig hunting, this right here is what I bring. And that's a really good way to take out the pig without destroying a lot of the meat. And here in Florida, the pigs get to be around 60 to maybe 90 pounds. It's a pretty large pig for this area. But let's go ahead and talk about what to expect from your 223/556 cartridge. Out of a 20-inch barrel, if you're rocking a 55 grain projectile, you're going to be having a projectile that travels at about 3,200 feet per second. Now that right there is a tremendous velocity. The bullet's not exactly the heaviest, but that is a tremendous velocity. And with that tremendous velocity, you're going to have a pretty flat trajectory out at long ranges. Now, if you go up to a heavier grain projectile, another very common weight is 62 grain projectiles. Now, if you bump that up to a 62 grain projectile, you're going to drop your velocity down simply because the round is heavier, so it takes more effort, more energy, more power to launch that round downrange. So as a result, it's going to travel slower because the 223/556 cartridge is going to have the same pressure inside of the chamber to meet the same specifications. So that 62 grain projectile is going to travel at about 3,000 or so feet per second out of a 20-inch barrel. Now, those right there are going to be your more common projectiles that are going to fire from a 223/556 cartridge. And for the most part, that's not what people are using to hunt with. Now, if you're going to take a 223/556 cartridge, odds are, if you're going for medium game, you're going to ramp that up to a heavier weight projectile. Most of your hunting rifles are going to be chambered in a 1-in-7 twist barrel, and that is done to help stabilize these heavier weight projectiles. They may even go even heavier weight, or heavier, or bigger, slower. What's the word I'm looking for? They might have a larger twist rate than even a 1-in-7. We are trying to focus on the cartridge, not the rifle, and my god, I could go on quite the tangent if we're going into the rifle themselves. So for our 223/556, if you are going to be going after medium game, then odds are you're going to want a heavier projectile. And many times whenever people are hunting with 223/556, they'll find themselves hunting with a 77 or heavier grain projectile. And out of an 18-inch barrel, that is going to be traveling just under 2,800 feet per second. You'd probably get a little bit more velocity out of that thing if you ramp that up to a longer barrel. But as far as I'm concerned, if your barrel length on your 223/556 rifle is less than 18 inches, odds are that's not your hunting rifle. That's probably going to be used for defensive purposes. I could see some people using 16-inch ARs for hunting purposes if that's all that they had. But there's plenty of other rifles out there that are chambered in 223/556. But if you have a 16-inch 223/556, odds are it's an AR. And odds are you using that for much more than just hunting purposes. So that's why I'm focusing on the longer barrels. There are long barrel ARs out there like your M16 style builds and whatnot, and those right there are of course going to have your 20, potentially even 24-inch barrels, and that right there is going to have the velocities that we're talking about. And you could use those for hunting. I have seen people use exactly those for hunting, but with those long barrels, that's where you get your effective pressures for the 223, and you get your effective velocities to be able to take out the kinds of games that it is that you would be using this stuff for. So with that 77 grain projectile traveling about 2,800 feet per second, that right there should be adequate enough for taking out most of your medium game, especially with proper shot placement. In my particular case, I have taken this Ruger Mini 14 out, This right here does have a barrel in it that is a 1 in 7 twist. Originally with the earlier Mini 14s, it was a 1 in 10 twist, I do believe. But this barrel right here has been swapped out for a 1 in 7 twist, so I can stabilize those heavier bullets very nicely onto this Mini 14, and it fires them incredibly accurately. So for small and medium game, 5.56 is actually a really good option, because if you're going after small game, you know, coyotes or rabbits or possums, raccoons, whatever it is that it is that you're going after, if it's not a medium game or a large game, then a 55 grain projectile will be able to handle whatever that thing is very easily. Even my 60 to 90 pound pigs that I found around here that like to get into all of my stuff, even those guys could be dispatched with a 55 grain projectile pretty easily, pretty regularly, without much issue. But if you start going after medium game, like the 150 to 170 pound deer that we have around here in the state of Florida, then bumping that up to that 77 grain projectile or even heavier would be more ideal. You would definitely want an expanding bullet as opposed to the full metal jacket style rounds that you normally see with 223 5.56, which would normally be used with defensive loadings, defensive cartridges. So now that all of that is said, would I recommend it? It depends on what it is that you're going after. I would not recommend it anything beyond like small medium game, like the small versions of medium game, and of course small game. Like if your deer in your area gets up to like 350, 400 pounds, and you're in an area that has large game that you would be looking to go after, I wouldn't recommend the 223 5.56. Or if you're going bear hunting, I wouldn't recommend 223 5.56. But I mean, if you're in a place like I'm at, and your idea of, well, for example, this Mini 14, I literally use this numerous times to take out coyotes whenever I see them coming across my field or harassing my various animals that I have around here. I will use literally that rifle with 55 grain projectiles to dispatch those things. And I'll tend to use full metal jackets, because once those make impact on target, with them traveling at about 3,200 feet per second out of this barrel length, that fragments that round and just absolutely decimates whatever it is that they hit. So now I have me a water jug right here. I have 55 grain projectiles inside of the Ruger Mini 14. We're going to go ahead and hit this water jug with a 55 grain projectile, see what kind of damage it does. I'm not expecting a whole lot, but I am expecting to be surprised. So this is just standard full metal jacket, 55 grain. This is tool ammo, but it's a lead core copper jacketed bullet. Now once this round hits that water and fragments, it is going to dump a lot of energy onto that target. So let's say I'm out hunting, and that right there is the vital area to a deer. Obviously it's not going to be quite exact here, but let's see what kind of damage we have to that vital zone. Oh wow, that was a lot more damage than I was actually expecting. Alright, so obviously it's not going to be as much as like a 30-06, which I've shown off earlier in this video series, but that was pretty impressive. Alright, I gotta say, that was actually very impressive for a 223 5.56. We had a lot of energy impacted onto that target, and if that was the vital areas of a deer, yeah, that deer would not be going home. Old Bambi would be turned into venison, and I'd probably take the pelt off of that one. That would be cool. But yeah, as we can see from the energy transfer onto that water jug, if the game is small enough to be able to take damage like that, then by all means you absolutely could use 223 5.56 for hunting purposes. Don't go bear hunting with it, don't go elk hunting with it. Of course, I mean, you can with proper shot placement. I would not recommend it. But anytime I talk about things like this, people bring up like, hey, I killed deer with a 22 long rifle, or how about that lady who took down that bear with that 25 ACP? Like, it can be done. Well, yeah, just because it can be done doesn't mean that you should. But yeah, like especially here in the state of Florida where things are not very large, the types of game that I'm going after, they're not very large, I absolutely can get away with using 223 5.56. It's a good, powerful enough, potent round, especially considering that I'm not shooting past 100 yards in the types of jungles that you guys see back there, that's the type of stuff that I hunt in. Yeah, I'm not shooting past like 100 yards maximum, so we don't have to worry about that decrease in velocity. So as a result, the 223-556 cartridge still has the velocity necessary to achieve that terminal ballistic capabilities. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching. I do appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go and go check that out. So far on this series, we've checked out 30-06 and 308, 8mm Mauser. Now we're checking out 223. Up next, I think I'm going to make a video talking about 7.62x39. If you want to be around for that, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because this right here is a part of a video series where I'm trying to earn my way up to 100,000 subscribers, and hopefully you guys are on board for that. So, like, subscribe, share, description below, link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you all in the next episode.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.